Zazen, the meditation of doing nothing. Imagine that you take on a rather awkward challenge of locking yourself up in a room for a week. You can't go out and there's no internet or any other line of communication between you and the world. You're all by yourself. There's no TV, no smartphones, or any other devices for entertainment. All you have is enough food and your own company. Now, how do you think you will fare under such circumstances? It would not be an overstatement, I believe, to assume that most people would soon dread such a setting. Some might become utterly depressed, others overwhelmed by the feelings of loneliness, anxiety, or boredom. And while some would find things to busy themselves with, even these temporary escapes will inevitably end, forcing them to at last face the gloomy void. When finally confronted with this inescapable pause, there won't be much to distract you from yourself. No running away from whatever psychological baggage you're carrying. In these empty moments, you will discover, perhaps for the first time in your life, one of humanity's greatest psychological shortcomings that surprisingly is rarely talked about or even acknowledged. You will find that despite all attempts to really center yourself, to just be content with zero activity, your mind will be in a perpetual state of motion, always running like a monkey on steroids, constantly urging you to stimulate yourself, to think something, to do something. Under normal circumstances, we usually have a tendency to blame other people for our suffering. But under such isolation, it would become evident that the problem is rooted in our own selves. We ourselves are the source of all the disquiet in our lives. But why then, it could be asked, is this imbalance even present? This psychological irritation, this restlessness when we are deprived of all our toys? Buddha believed that the cause of our psychological turmoil is the ignorance of our true nature. According to him, unless we understand who we really are, we will keep creating suffering both in our own lives and in the lives of others. In our normal everyday lives, this ignorance is created and sustained through constant self-avoidance. That is, by running away from ourselves. Think about it. Whenever we end up facing a void, a gap in our lives, we immediately feel a need to fill it with something. A new TV series, a new car, a smartphone, a new book, a hobby, maybe a new business, a pet, or even a new girlfriend or boyfriend. But why this rush? Why can't we just be equally content with doing nothing? Just be profoundly happy for no reason whatsoever? If you notice carefully, you will discover that life for most of us is just a constant escape from our own complete presence. What strange secret then is hidden there? Could it be the very thing we are looking for? In the previous episodes, I myself only talked about somewhat healthier ways of avoiding oneself. In this episode, however, we are going to learn how to stop running away altogether and get real with life. I assure you, if you listen to what's about to be discussed and practice it in your life, this might just turn out to be the very relief you've been seeking. When confusion ceases, clarity arises. When clarity arises, wisdom appears. When wisdom appears, reality displays itself. Zen saying. Once upon a time, a man saw a monk sitting quietly under a tree. Curious as to what this old monk was doing, he asked him, "Hey old man, I've been watching you for hours. Please tell me, what is it that you're doing sitting so calmly and motionlessly?" Smiling gently, the monk replied, "Nothing. I was just sitting." This just sitting and doing nothing is the profound practice of Zen Buddhism, popularly known as Shikantaza or Zazen. Although Zazen really originated just 8 centuries ago in China, it is the most no-bullshit way of practicing the core of Buddha's teachings. Let me explain why that is the case. After Buddha understood the nature of reality and became enlightened, he tried to jot down what he'd understood so that people for generations to come could be benefited from his insights and themselves become a Buddha. That is, a being in whose life suffering has ended. In his efforts to transmit his insights, Buddha taught 4 noble truths about life. Let us take a brief look at them. The first noble truth was that all life is suffering. The second was that suffering has a cause, which is desire. The third noble truth was that suffering can end when desires end. And the fourth was the solution to end suffering, that is a way to attain enlightenment. While to some this may look like a map to enlightenment, his teachings were full of paradoxes and twists. Let's look again, for example, at the second noble truth, that is, suffering has a cause. Buddha taught that the cause of suffering is desire. Let me try to help you see the paradox here. If the cause of suffering is desire, then you may think, oh, then I will just stop desiring and my suffering will end. But you see, you wanting to stop desiring is also a desire. So what Buddha really meant was that yes, you're suffering and yes, life is misery, but you can't end it by trying to end it. You can't attain freedom from suffering by trying to do anything about it. So here we end up in a trap. Now if we just let go and say, okay, if I can't do anything about it, what the hell? There's nothing really to Buddha's teachings. Let me just lead the same life that I've been living, the same way I've been living it. But we all know that sitting in front of a screen watching Game of Thrones doesn't liberate us from our suffering. Clearly, something different from this needs to be done. But like we established earlier, nothing we can do can help us cross this river. So what to do? To help resolve this, Buddha offered a path to enlightenment, which is the fourth noble truth. Note that in second noble truth, he taught that nothing can be done to end suffering. But in this one, he says, contradicting himself, here's what you can do to end it. And then he goes on and on about morality, mindfulness practices, concentration, and so on. The thing is that after he attained enlightenment, he discovered that the truth that he realized was never hidden. It was always present, always here. And trying to seek something that is always present is like trying to look for your spectacles when you're already wearing them. You're never going to find them anywhere else. But because people didn't get the simplicity of the fact that what they're trying to seek is ever present, Buddha offered this path towards truth. There's a reason, however, why this path is called the pathless path, because the path is really just an illusion. If people are not able to see that they're already wearing the spectacles that they're trying to so desperately find, Buddha said, alright, you go and look for them with all your heart. One day, after probing the earth, you will finally abandon your search only to find the spectacles on your very own face. It's just like if you assume that the earth is flat and go about trying to find its edge, you will obviously fail. But in doing so, you will also understand the true shape of the planet. And so you see, in order to somehow attain this liberation from all our psychological limitations, nothing really needs to be done. And yet, something needs to be done. In the words of Zen Master Dogen, although the truth is abundantly inherent in each person, it is not manifested without practice. This paradoxical nature of the truth, then, is directly expressed in Zazen, which is clearly a practice, but a practice of doing nothing at all. This is why Zazen is also known as just sitting, doing nothing, or the practice of true reality. For Dogen, all of enlightenment is fully expressed in this dynamic practice of Zazen. Zazen is based on the principle that whatever truth that we seek through meditation is already present right here, right now. Nothing is concealed or hidden. The reason we are not able to realize that right now is because it can only be realized through non-seeking. In simple words, you can't know the truth by doing anything to understand it, by interfering with whatever is happening right now, because you yourself are a part of this movement. Think about it. How can you understand reality just by looking at external phenomena when you yourself are a part of it? If such an understanding is to take place, the entire spectrum of reality needs to be studied as a whole, because whatever is real clearly contains both you and the world together. And so then, in Zazen, we just let reality unfold without any distinctions like internal or external, self Or rather, whatever emotion, thought, or sound wants to come, we let it come. Whatever emotion, thought, or sound wants to stay, we let it stay. And whatever emotion, thought, or sound wants to leave, we let it leave. We stop poking our head into life and let reality express itself unhindered and untouched. Through this complete non-interference, whatever is true about us and about life is gradually revealed, finally relieving us of all our psychological afflictions. In the words of Zen philosopher Alan Watts, we leave the muddy water alone and it gets clear by itself. This is Zazen, the practice of true reality. Having talked about the philosophy behind the practice, now let's see how to practice Zazen. The instructions for practice. Step 1. Seat and posture. This is probably the most overlooked aspect of this practice that can't really be ignored. First of all, Zazen is a seated meditation, which doesn't involve any sort of movement. So if your legs or your back function well, do try to sit in a cross-legged position. It really helps in sitting motionlessly and for a long time. If you have any problem with your back or your body doesn't allow you to sit cross-legged, use a chair. The important thing to understand is to sit with your back straight. Without a straight back, it is very likely that you will fall asleep. Placing a cushion about 3 to 4 inches in width right under your buttocks helps maintain a straight spine with relative ease. Also, make sure that your position is relatively comfortable. We are not trying to cause the body any pain. If your posture is uncomfortable even at the beginning of the practice, it will become much more painful with time, causing you to stop the practice. The important thing is to have a posture that involves a straight spine and is comfortable at the same time. Keep your eyes closed and hands comfortably on your lap. Step 2. Duration. Practice for at least 10 to 15 minutes every day. The important thing is consistency. With time, you can increase the duration of the practice. To set a timer, I recommend an app called Insight Timer. I've been using it for years now, and I believe it's a great way to keep track of your meditation practice. Step 3. The practice. Usually, Zen monks, when teach Zazen, go on and on about the postures and the right kind of cushion, and when they reach the point where they're supposed to talk about the practice, they just say, "Just sit, that is all." The thing is that Zazen is not really about anything. We are not trying to do anything here, to concentrate on any object, to be mindful, or to even become enlightened. We are not trying to add or subtract anything from the present, not trying to remove sadness or to create more peace. Zazen is the subtle activity of allowing all things to be completely at rest, just as they are. So after you sit in the right posture, let go of trying to do anything. When you enter Zazen, you take a break from using your body and your mind to get something and to go somewhere. Of course, thoughts will arise, emotions will arise, but everything is welcome here. Everything that comes is allowed, whether good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, comfortable or uncomfortable. Whatever pops up is perfect. There is zero interference with life. We are allowing reality to express itself completely without any hesitation or hindrance. If you don't like something that has popped up, your not liking it is also perfectly welcome. If at any stage you feel like you're not able to let go of a feeling, let even that feeling of not being able to let go have complete space to be without any interference. Note that you yourself are a part of reality, so your own entanglement with thoughts and feelings is allowed to be just as it is. When the need to do anything, to change anything is completely dropped, and absolutely everything, from the subtlest to the grossest, is given complete space to be exactly as it is, our true nature gradually reveals itself. In this way, without having to move a hair, the truth emerges from within. Alright, so this is how you practice Zazen. Now there are some important things about this practice that you need to understand. The first is that Zazen is one of the most advanced forms of meditation. If done correctly, it leads directly to enlightenment. So if you're just looking to reduce stress or to focus better, this is not the way to go. You will be better off practicing concentration or mindfulness, which I talked about in the previous episodes. Zazen, it needs to be understood, is not about self-improvement. Self-improvement implies that there is something wrong with you right now, which you want to change or overcome. In Zazen, everything is welcomed as it is. Everything is perfect. Zazen is not really about going anywhere. It is a dynamic activity of being where you are, as you are. For this reason, Zazen cannot be done for any purpose or expectation. Any such expectation only comes in the way of practicing correctly. The second thing I want to mention is that Zazen is not always sunshine and rainbows. Your sittings in Zazen will not always feel good. Most of us have been running away from ourselves too long to know what kind of person we've become. When you finally sit in Zazen, things will come. You will become aware of the aspects of yourself that you don't like, and you will want to stop the practice. But don't interfere. Let these things come and let them be in your awareness as long as they want to be. This is just the truth unveiling itself. Let these layers come to the surface and dissolve naturally. This is just you being healed of all the superficiality that you've been carrying around for years. The third thing I want to mention is that you will not likely get it right in the first few sittings. But keep on practicing every day. Keep reminding these instructions to yourself and be consistent in your practice. Within a few months or so, you will understand how insanely powerful this simple act of just sitting really is. Alright, so this was all about Zazen. Now this was a pretty deep episode, so I hope that I really hit the mark in explaining you what Zazen really is and how it works. And I know that some of you have some questions to ask me, so feel free to drop your comment in the comment section and I will answer each and every one of them there. Also, I might to say that these episodes will only get deeper with time, so it is really helpful for me to know whether what I'm discussing here is serving any purpose in your life, whether it's really hitting the mark and helping you in any way. So don't feel shy to share your thoughts in the comments. I would really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to Profundas. I'm Rajat, your host, signing off. Take care, you guys.